Welcome back, friends. Carrying forward with the discussion on market planning, a marketing plan which we discussed last time with its objectives. So, now I will be taking you a step further in relation to the steps associated with the planning process. And because we have gone for an extensive detailed discussion on the objectives, wherein I have highlighted several elements which are necessary. So, here it is a complementary kind of an aspect which should be carried forward along with that, and references and sources are continuously being mentioned in the slides in front of you. So, steps in the planning process are related to updation of historical data. We talked about situation and those kind of several elements, customers, competitors in the objectives. So, historical data about almost everything. It is not just the sales data, it is almost the complete detail of your market analysis, surveys about your own product, about the competition, and about different substitutes and alternatives available, whichever way we have categorized that. So, that data, because we have to derive meaning out of that data basically. So, and then we have to corroborate that with the current situational data, because although current situational data should be considered beforehand, means when the situation is about to come, but definitely at that particular moment what is happening, because situations may change dramatically also many a times, and in unfortunate circumstances like COVID-19, situations have dramatically changed in many cases. So, that kind of a perspective is also required, and then so there has to be a complete spectrum of as far as the data goes. Then comes in data analysis. I would not take you into different into the details of different methodologies, quantitative and qualitative analysis. I always suggest my audience to think in terms of reflexive methodology, which is very important for product managers and market planners to analyze things basically. Rest, we know that lots of data sciences methodologies and AI based methodologies and several statistical tools are available with us as far as analysis goes, but reflexive perspective is a key element for a product manager, because that is what he does. He is at the forefront of the organization in terms of the product, and he is the person who is, or she is the person who is communicating with someone at the back end. So, then comes in developing of objectives and strategies and programs, a sequence, we have talked about that, and development of financial documents, cost benefit analysis, profits, markups, what kind of pricing is to be done, what kind of, you see, this is the part I mentioned last time, that this is the part which leadership is actually interested in, although leadership is interested in almost everything, but they want to know what is the benefit. Ultimately they have to run the show, so they want to know that what kind of a revenue model and a financial model you have, where is the break even, where is for example, you are going for a structured time frame kind of a thing. So, there is a cost element and then there is a recovery element and so on. So, then you see, you have to negotiate the final plan with the leadership and all the stakeholders. Everyone has to come on the same plane. Many a times you are launching a new product, you have to negotiate with the retailers so that they can develop and build up the inventory on the floor. You want larger products, larger number of products to be displayed, because that will tell your strength to the customer, and he or she would like to have a limited number, because he would not like to devote much of the space much of a space on the floor of the retail outlet. And so, if you are talking of some display product, let us say automotive for example. So, there are several elements to be negotiated. It's a kind of brief example on that. Measure progress towards objectives. Then, as I said, intermediarily we have to revisit several steps, and that is what this is talking about. Audit, analyzing almost everything backwards, how it has contributed into what it had to, that means in consonance with the objectives required. Now, components of marketing plan, and you see, for example, you are developing a new TV show, the Kapil Sharma show. Now, what is the marketing plan? And that is the beauty of it. Look at it as a product. You see, the producers of the Kapil Sharma show, what they would have thought of, they would have built up an executive summary, a situation analysis, category and competitor definition. You see, they would have known very well that there are so many shows going on. Customer or our viewers' attention is diverted in many ways. How to develop a show wherein, undiverted attention of the segment or your target customer which you are focusing upon should be there, and they should look forward to the next episode or the next session, whatever. So, that has to be imagined at that particular moment when you are developing the market plan. Because that will enable you to actually focus upon the product augmentation or product development or product reconstitution, or in case of these kind of shows, reconstitution of the storyboard or narrative, and whichever way you want to look at it, or even characters or even the jokes, for example, and how to actually project those jokes. So you see, it's a beautiful mix of that. It's a promotional exercise that they promote several movies or shows or whichever. So people from that show or movie, they appear as guests, and here they have a storyboard to entertain them, to entertain the audience, and they have all the participants of that show with all unique aspects with them, and then they develop a wonderful entertainment narrative around everything. It's a healthy family show. Now, we come to category analysis, and I will be talking about this at length subsequently. So, and we have talked about what categories are and how do we look at categories earlier. Then comes in company and competitor analysis, and here when we talk about competitor definition, so defining our competition, and here we are talking of analyzing the competition and vis-a-vis the organization we are representing. So, here an element of branding is there, definitely the brand value, the brand equity of the organization, which I will be talking about subsequently anyway. So, do not worry about that, but you see, keep these words brand resonance, brand awareness, brand equity in mind, especially brand equity. So we will be focusing upon that, because there we would be referring to brand value chain, and there I would be referring to these elements with a different kind of an element which wherein it would be justified how a brand actually gets developed. So, but this aspect also includes brand perspective. Customer analysis, we have talked about that. Planning assumptions, what are the elements which you carry along when you are putting up the plan basically, you see, what are the constants which you are focusing upon, what are the variables which you are focusing upon, because you know that once you will generate a particular kind of a process related to development of that product, or let us say manufacturing of the product, then it might not be easy to stop that. You will be devoting resources on that, and that is where assumptions come in, that if this happens then what. So, there is a sensitivity element to that, and that definitely includes costs and benefits and financial considerations at length, although there is a whole lot of a financial management team, and there is a whole lot of art of financial management which is involved, and science of financial management which is involved here in to support a product manager. Objectives, what is the objective of Kapil Sharma show? To make people laugh. That is a very clear cut objective, but on what grounds, with what perspective? In association to the experiences a person might have in daily life, picking things from all around. That is what that. So, I have chosen this particular one example. You can replace this example with any other and then revisit the sequence, and you would realize what I am talking of. product and brand strategy, and that is why product slash brand strategy has been given, how you would be carrying forward the product vis-a-vis the product as a brand and the brand as a product and so on. For example, you are launching a new product in a name which exists with other product of yours, what would be your strategy? So, these kind of elements we have talked about that before also, and we will be referring to that in strategic sequence later on, after we talk about analysis, for example. Now, then supporting marketing programs, financial documents, monitors and controls. Evaluation is a very important thing which largely is related to focusing upon revisiting every step you have taken. How do you revisit every step you have taken? By mentally looking into what you did last time. You see, I remember there was a movie wherein a cricket star revisits the last match mentally. I don't know, I'm forgetting the name of the movie, but that is how many people do that. So many experimentalists, they do that. And then several intelligent people do that. Contingency plan. If somehow this doesn't works out as thought of, so what is the plan B? Many a times in several shows and movies, they say there is no plan B, that is the plan B. So now product planning. So product planning comes in, wherein it includes all the decisions a business makes in the production and sale of products and services. Now we are focusing upon sale of products and services, including the production, and then we are from marketing plan, we are focusing crystallizing on the product level planning. These decisions can include packaging, for example. Now this is an interesting part. If you look at packaging with reference to conveying a message, then definitely packaging holds lots of value. For example, medicines, or for example, wherein ingredients are very important for a person to know, then the list of ingredients would be holding a larger space as far as the packaging and the label goes. So, color. Coke and Pepsi are famous for the color of the packs basically. IKEA Furnitures is famous for their packaging and packaging methodology and packaging associated production methodology. So you see, they want everything to be fit in to be fitted into a rectangular box. It's a famous thing basically, just watch their videos. And then you see sizes, shapes. Size matters a lot when we are talking of people carrying something for themselves. So what kind of packages would you be providing to those people? If it's difficult for someone to carry, they won't. Information on the pack and so many other things. So you see, starting from colors to what information you give and so on, packaging plays a very, very important role. Many academicians, they have been actually projecting packaging as a different P amongst all the P's in as far as marketing mix goes, but for us, as of the discussion, there are 4 P's in marketing. But still, what I am trying to suggest here is that packaging is extremely important. Labeling is associated with that, and I have just mentioned about that. So it says something. Warranties, electronics, automotives, warranties are so important. You see, it's a reassuring element, plus that is one of the most important reasons for a customer to bank upon something, and especially when they are trying it for the first time, when something is new to them. You see, and when you do not know the technology, you do not, and you are helpless if if something goes wrong. So that moment, for example, you buy a beautiful large television. So warranties and guarantees are very, very important there. So they would say that guarantee about this part and warranty about this part, that means replacement of this and change of this, and sometimes the whole product has a guarantee, you can change it anytime you want. So that is an assurance plus that is an enabler, and many a times manufacturers they also feel committed that they have given this kind of a warranty and guarantee. So, they should have the quality standards so high that they abide by that. Branding. I would be talking about branding at length in so many sessions, but just to give you a glimpse, for example, LIC and trust. So, this is how LIC has branded itself. It is one of the most trusted brands, it is one of the most trusted organizations, as people know this organization. So, that is where branding comes in. Many times people say that this organization or this product is one of the most loved products and most preferred products. So, this is how branding comes in. Branding gets reflected in the key terms which organization expresses about itself as have been told by the customers to them. That is how branding comes in. For example, this trust element LIC has generated, but customer has told them that they trust LIC. Utterly butterly delicious. This has been quoted by the organization as has been told by the customers to them. So, that is where branding comes in. Product mix, we have all talked about as far as what kind of lines and what kind of width is there in terms of product mix goes. So, and why those kind of lines and why those kind of widths. For example, you are developing or producing particular kinds of soaps. So, you are also producing particular kind of toothpaste because you want to serve the same customer. So I will be talking about that probably in the next session. So, a well defined product plan allows marketers to meet consumer needs and wants and reach profit goals. Steps for product planning: select the general type of product to manufacture or sell, like Borolene for example. One product to be taken to the customers. Kesri Marham is one of my favorite examples. It's one product which this organization has been selling for generations. So, it's for different kinds of muscular pains, and it's sold specifically in Haridwar, and then there is a huge distribution, but that is on demand distribution basically. People know about their outlet and their manufacturing setup. They have one shop in Haridwar. Haridwar is a globally known city, very near to Roorkee where I am standing right now, IIT Roorkee. So, this and it's an effective, I should not say ointment, a balm sort of, and then people who know about this product, they like it. So you see, they have focused upon this product, this fundamental product to be manufactured and sold. Then let us say a movie, for example, a Bond movie. Now, that has a particular kind of an orientation, a storyboard. A song even can be looked upon with the perspective of a product. And I remember Cola Very D, a very specific song. It created rage altogether. And why I remember, because many B schools, they actually discuss this as a case study, and there are several other songs, and to my joy, there are several kinds of music tunes which are wonderful. So, and then there can be a specific show. I will be talking about some of those examples later on. So, you see, then comes in specify the makeup of the product mix. For example, electrical appliances. What kind of electrical appliances this company would produce? For example, you would go for different kinds of irons. You would go for different kinds of water heaters. You would go for different kinds of let us say cooking devices. So several electrical appliances in different kinds of lines. Develop required packaging and labeling, then choose the extended product features to be offered. How far? That is, what do you see as the potential product? And we have talked about that earlier. There is a wonderful show on ZTV, Khana Khazana, running for n number of years now. And whenever I look at this show, I look at it as a product which is so well casted. It is so universal and it is so fresh every time. So, you see, that is where this product planning comes in. Antakshari was a show, uh, on on television. Sare Gama Pa, a very successful show, and Kapil Sharma show we have talked about. So, you see, then comes in key options in market selection and product planning. What markets should be served? Let us say helicopter manufacturing, it is one of my favorite examples. When you see today India transportation scenario is changing in Uttaranchal, this hilly state where I am standing, the Himalayan state, we are at the foothills, it is a beautiful Himalayan state. So, here helicopter transportation has started already and then government is very pro. Now, if you will look at this opportunity with the perspective of a helicopter manufacturing company, let us say Bell Helicopters of Textron. Now, you see what they would be thinking, how they would be conceiving, and what would be their decision on choice of a market or markets to be served, especially with reference to Uttarakhand, our state. And it is essentially the choice of customer, competition, technical, political and social environment in which one elects to compete, and you see you can resonate this statement with helicopter manufacturing or helicopter based planning as a product. They are influenced by company background, marketing strength and efforts, manufacturing and technical strengths, relation with existing customers and clients, scientific community, competitors and others. And someone told me that there are few thousand helicopters being sold every year in China, for example. India is rising in that count. We are aggressively moving towards air transport. So, let us see where it goes. So, then comes in key options in market selection and product planning. What form should the product take? Now, it is a very important and interesting thing actually. You see, marketing strategies should not be developed for products, but for markets. The product is a variable, not a given in the strategy when you look at the strategic perspective. You see, what happens is that it is there. Now, you are talking of form of the product. Market selection comes first and the choice of the product form follows. For example, aluminium manufacturer can take it to residential market, aluminium sidings or whichever way, and then industrial suppliers also, wherein they can sell it in the form of sheets, and then you see sell portable homes as well, and that reminds me of pre-laminated products. It is a wonderful segment, and if I am not wrong, Syntex is manufacturing and marketing that these kind of products, and it is a very successful venture. How Syntex is doing can be verified through their website, but I remember that they had these kind of products. Then there is prefabricated wooden houses. Sara Abode is a company which I know, and they are into prefabricated wooden houses. So, that is again a wonderful kind of a product, and you see these examples, they justify our discussion, the preceding discussion should I say. Then other product choices may be whether to make a full line or narrow line in any given product area. For example, Sara Abode should do what? They should go for villas, they should go for small houses, they should go for resorts. How much to focus on quality? What should be the extent? It should be so durable that it should not move for 200 years. Do we require that in a house? We can think of that. Whether to have a full range of sizes or to work across only part of the range and so on. So, what is to be chosen basically? And then you can look at this perspective in almost all the products. I remember a wonderful product, and I would be talking about such kind of products in new product development segment, wherein for example, bamboo based bicycles are a wonderful product, wherein you can think of the full range of the form of the product actually. Then comes in what should the product do for the user. The product is what the product does. It is the total package of benefits the customer receives when he buys. It's a wonderful thing or statement which has been given in the reference by Raymond Corey in the paper which we have referred here for this segment. So you can always read this paper and you would realize, so it says it all. When you say that product is what the product does, the usage, and this includes the functional utility of the goods, the products, the product service that the manufacturer provides, the technical assistance he may give his customers, and the assurance that the product will be delivered when and where it is needed and is desired in desired quantities. Yeah. And this reminds me of Tata Sky's campaign, wherein that storyboard wherein this girl calls and she says that I stay in the last house of the last village of India, would you put up Tata Sky here? And the guy says, in a very reassuring voice, the man says that aapne keh diya, ho gaya. That means you have said it and it's done. So that is the perspective of reaching to the last corners, and a wonderful campaign by Maruti Suzuki wherein they say that in some hilly area they are moving and they say that do you have a restaurant here? No. Do you have a hotel here? No. Do you have a tea stall here? No. Do you have a Maruti Suzuki service station here? The guy says yes, the boy says yes. So the range of relationships, technical and personal, that may develop among people in the selling and buying organizations, products should not be conceived of narrowly in terms of primary function. It should be seen with the perspective of the satisfaction of the customer at the end of the day. For whom is the product most important? Do I have to answer this question? But still, because we are going through, the product will have different meaning to different customers. It has to be interpretative, although it is same. And one of my favorites is when I talk about, same kinds of flats being purchased by different kind of people with different kind of a perspective. Someone looks at it as a dream house, someone looks at it with the perspective of, sitting near the window to watch the sky. It is strategically advantageous for a supplier to concentrate on those prospective customer groups that will value the product most. Definitely, those will become the advocates in due course of time. Product generally commands the highest prices among the customers for whom it has the greatest utility. We can think of associating premium with this as well. You see, there is a checklist the product marketing planning process, has. Start the annual planning process by carefully assessing the current status of your product and your company. Look for problems to address during the next fiscal year as well as opportunities to exploit. And you see, focusing upon competition with competitive analysis, and here I would talk about for few seconds, just to think beyond competition as such, bypassing the competition, going for non-users, and I will be talking about this in strategic part. But you see, that is when we are doing competition analysis, it does not only imply that you focus on the competition actually. You look at the competition and think of bypassing. You see, have you seen the game of kabaddi? That is what I am referring to. You go into the other's court and you come back unscratched by touching them and putting them out. It cannot be taken as an exact kind of an explanation, but just like that. You see, study the performance of your products over a 3-year period. Look at the stability of the customers for each product, the effectiveness of prices and price changes, the sales and profit trends by product, the attitude of the sales force, that is their motivation. Are they consistent? They are feeling happy in pursuing that product. Whenever I talk to agents of Life Insurance Corporation of India, their development managers and so on, you see, this same feeling of motivation which I am talking about here comes to me, that they are selling one single product for year on year and they are happy. That is what precisely this means. Then comes in, try to predict the effect current trends will have on the future of your product. Are regulatory forces likely to require design changes? We are talking of EVs, so definitely is a pertinent example, are a relevant one. Are there indications customers are shifting in preference towards competing technologies? Yes, it has to be considered, and EV is a very relevant one at this moment. And then can we think of going for a receding way? That means we have always been thinking in terms of developing product incrementally. So can we simplify the processes? Can we simplify the product as such? That means we have raised the expectation of the customers. We are giving them the potential product as the base product now, or augmented product as the base product now, but can we justify that in front of the customer that base product in its entirety was better as compared to this one, and let us go back to that one. So can we do that, for example, in terms of FM radio, the device I am talking of? And you see, that particular device can be simplified just for FM purposes. I know that there are locally manufactured devices for just for listening to FM radio, and those devices are very cost effective, economically priced, and solve the purpose. So that is precisely what I am referring to, and then we have talked about this element in different way in when I was referring to breakaway positioning and reverse positioning and those kind of elements, if you would remember. So you see, that is where I would end my discussion on market planning, marketing planning and product planning in a composite way. There are several case studies and examples which we can talk about. A beautiful case study which you can visit through their website is TWG Tea, you see, and you would realize that they have worked in and out on developing a tea as a product as against several other competitors in a highly competitive market, wherein customer is very sensitive about tastes. This organization, this product has done fairly well. For detailed description on this, their website can be chosen, and Philip Kotler's marketing management carries this example. So the exact edition is 2017 7th edition by Pearson. So you can always look into that book, Philip Kotler and Kevin Lane Keller, Marketing Management and Asian Perspective. So this example is given there, and several other examples which would justify our discussion on the subject. I will be coming back to you with lots of insights on analysis and then strategy later on as well. Till then, goodbye.